Carrie, Grant, and Tori are attempting to beat Ewan, the well-trained guard dog. They're going to test several techniques to sneak past the four-legged guardian, get into the safe in the center of the compound, and then escape safely with the loot.
So the first tactic I'm going to utilize is diversion. I've got some stakes. I'm going to chuck it in one side of the yard, and then I'm going to try to make a run for it.
I see, and that's supposed to draw the dog's attention away from you.
It always works in the cartoons.
Good luck with that.
Carrie gets into the dog-proof safety suit and then gives it a test run. With Carrie about as mobile as a dog's chew toy, she adapts her heist plan.
I'm not gonna be able to throw anything with this. I'm gonna get one of the boys to go to the corner and throw it. That's not cheating. Everybody's got a partner in crime.
Tori gets the plan underway by interesting Ewan in his meaty treat.
Oh, look, he likes.
Oh, you licking it?
You like, you like you like the meat. I think you guys should probably go for it now, no?
Tori's tasty T-bone taunting has bought Carrie enough time to get to the safe. But then Carrie's accomplice turns nasty as Tori throws the stake into the compound.
Not at me! Not at me!
It's a poor throw, but Ewan stays focused on the meat and starts to chow down as Carrie heads for an unofficial exit on the far side of the compound. But it's locked.
Hurry, he's eating the meat!
Meanwhile, Ewan has finished the first course and goes back to Tori for more. But when Tori doesn't have another steak ready, Ewan goes to work.
Move. Oh. Okay. Get him.
Oh, that was great! It totally worked!
Well, kinda. The delicious diversion did distract Ewan long enough to get to the safe and secure the loot. But poor planning meant that Carrie ended up as the main course.
But the necklace is somewhere inside the suit. I swear it's in here. I grabbed it.
So it's plausible to distract a guard dog with tasty treats. But without that suit, Carrie would have been breakfast.
Well done.
Next up, Grant and Tori are tackling two myths which an animal behaviorist and fan of the show suggested. And they're both based on the concept that by using body language, you can persuade the dog to leave you alone. First into the ring is Grant, and the theory is Ewan will take Grant's submissive posture as proof he's not a threat.
Oh my God, this is not working. This is not working. This is not working.
I don't think it's working.
But it doesn't work. Next, Tori attempts to take alpha dog status by getting aggressive. But his top dog impression simply results in him being the dog's lunch. With the score MythBusters 1, Guard Dog 2, it's back to Adam and Jamie.
So how old is the phrase, "you can't teach an old dog new tricks"?
Well, it's pretty old. It originated from some guy named Fitzherbert who wrote a paper on animal husbandry in 1523.
That's it?
Yeah.
All right. The dogge must learn it when he is a whelpe, or else it will not be, for it is hard to make an olde dogge to stoop.
Like I said, you can't teach an old dog new tricks.
Jamie and Adam are testing the myth that if your car swerves off the road and into a body of water, to get out alive, you have to wait until it's completely submerged and full of water before you can open the door.
So did you know last year, AAA estimated 11,000 vehicles went off the road and into the water, and as a result of those accidents, 300 people died.
Holy cow, that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
I thought it was more like a freak accident.
Now, apparently it's a lot more common than that.
Well, maybe we can help raise awareness a bit as to what these people are facing.
And what better way to raise awareness than to raise themselves in a car into the sky and plunge into a pool?
What the are we doing?
Remember, when Adam goes 13 feet under, he won't be wearing breathing apparatus. The paramedics are on their toes, and Adam has his escape strategy all worked out.
I'm going to
try to start opening this door the moment I see the water get above my glass. Now, if the myth is true, I won't be able to open that door until the water level inside the car gets to the same point.
Deep breaths, Adam. Deep breaths. It's way too late to put on the brakes.
I couldn't stop now if I wanted to.
As the water rushes in, Adam is getting that sinking feeling.
Oh, man.
The crane chains go slack, and the car is sinking on its own. The 700-pound fake engine is taking it down nose first, exactly as it would in a real situation.
The water's up to my butt now. All right. Okay, it's coming past my waist. Now I can start to see under the water. Oh my God, it's coming up under the windshield. Wow, I can feel the pressure. All right, I only have a couple more breaths here.
Adam's never this quiet. So what's going on down there? The water is leaking in from every open crevice in the car, and Adam is now fully under. He holds his breath, tugs on the door, pushes his whole weight against it, but nothing happens. Finally, he can't hold his breath any longer and signals for Jamie to pass in the regulator. When the pressure ultimately equalizes, he opens the door and swims to the surface. But it was too late.
Woo! That is intense, no matter how you slice it. I died. Let's just put it that way.
Well, that's put a dampener on things. From the time the water hit Adam's knees to when he surfaced took just 1 minute and 51 seconds. But that's a long time when you're drowning.
The fact is, even though you do go vertical, you don't feel like it because the water is filling the cabin at that point. So you're kind of floating. I held my breath, I don't know, for what felt like 30 seconds, trying to push open that door, using my legs, bracing up inside the cab.
Well, you died.
Yeah, I died.
Jamie's passive observer view was a little eerie.
I'm just sitting there watching the guy drown. He's like just going nuts on that door. He's really using up his oxygen, and it didn't take him that long to run out. You don't want to be in a car when it goes down like that. It's scary.
The bottom line is Adam ran out of air before he could open the door.
That myth is confirmed. I could not open that door until the cab seemed to be full of water for a while.
Yeah, you were giving it all you could, and you just weren't able to do anything with that door until we started to level out. That's the point that you opened the door.
Yeah.
And that was quite a while.
Differential pressure can be such a downer. Okay, so according to you guys, having someone's mouth pressed against the trombone will make it a sealed system. Expanding gases from the explosion will no longer be able to escape through the mouthpiece. They'll have nowhere to go but through that slide. Right, you asked for it. Adam and Jamie are going to take it again from the top.
Look at all those trumpets.
Did you play the trumpet?
No.
Weren't you a bugler in the Civil War?
Once again, the guys go trawling for trombones. Second-hand, of course.
Perfect.
They also need some mouthpieces. And some mutes.
Unfortunately, this is the last note this trombone will ever play.
Trust Adam to turn a trombone into an instrument of torture. Question is, will they still be able to blow their own trumpet when this revisit's done?
Finger in a barrel. I knew we were gonna have to revisit this one. That's the one where a gun barrel can explode into a banana peel, just like in the cartoons.
This one's well worth a revisit, if only so we can catch up with our friends, the MythToons. They're a gun barrel of laughs. When our familiar foes come face to face, there's plenty of animated animosity. But instead of saying his prayers, our cheeky red-haired rodent forces his finger into the barrel, and the hunter's best-laid plans backfire big time. The MythBusters tried to get the same result in real life. They took modern rifles and plugged ballistics gel fingers into the barrels. The bullets won, hands down.
Look at the very tip
I'll
of the
be
barrel.
darned.
And while they got one or two bulges in their barrels, nothing could trigger that famous cartoon banana peel.
I don't want to count our chickens before they hatch, but I think we may end up revisiting this one.
Well, Adam, those chickens have now hatched, and they're coming home to roost. Since busting the myth, fans have been firing a volley of suggestions.
First, we should try this. It's an older gun with a Damascus barrel.
And what is that?
Well, up until the 20th century, they were making Damascus barrels, and that's where they would take alternate strips of steel and iron, twist it around a rod, and then weld it together. So it wasn't one piece of metal.
Okay, so let's get that straight. A Damascus barrel was made by taking strips of iron and steel and welding them together. According to fans, those weld points weaken the structure, and if the barrel is blocked, they'll give us our cartoon peel back.
Well, it looks like I need to go dig out the hand molds we used last time.
And I'll work on a remote trigger because if this does indeed work, it could very well explode.
While the guys get to work, let's revisit the science behind this cartoon caper. Pull the trigger of a gun and there's a small explosion. The expanding gases propel the bullet through and out the barrel. Lock the barrel, however, and the gas has nowhere to escape. The pressure builds and gun ruptures. Some fans might rupture too when they see what the MythBusters are going to do with this collector's item.
Boy, you better marry my daughter.
This 10-gauge shotgun had both barrels fashioned Damascus style.
This one was made in 1877, so it's an antique. And we're gonna destroy it.
Grant mounts the shotgun on Jamie's special rifle rig and wires up a remote trigger.
I have a radio control system. That transmits a wireless signal to the receiver. The receiver sends a control signal to the servo. It's going to turn the head of the servo, which pulls a string. The string goes around the trigger and is captured on the other side by a hose clamp, and then that fires the gun. 3, 2, 1. There you go.
Meanwhile, you gotta hand it to Carrie. She's got hand making down pat.
So here we have a ballistics gel hand with a skeleton cast inside. It's been sitting up overnight, and the nervous part is over because it came out of the mold and looks all right. Nitroglycerin patch test, 200 joules in 3, 2, 1. I didn't see any explosions. I didn't see any arcing, anything at all.
Nope.
Like I said, this is real life, real results. In this case, an awful lot of nothing.
We didn't get any explosion at 200 joules. Let's ramp it up to 360. Give it the maximum power.
But cranking the power to the max,
No explosion, guys.
even putting the paddles right on the patch.
It arced, it sparked, it didn't ignite. Well, I think one of the problems here is it's just not going to arc to the plastic. It's just not going to do anything there. And there is an old nitroglycerin patch that has sort of an aluminum in the plastic. Maybe that would arc from the spark.
More conductivity would definitely give it a higher likelihood of arcing.
Should be easy to get a couple of those, no?
Actually, Tori, that's a no. Aluminum-backed nitroglycerin patches were phased out in the 1980s. So Carrie's making some of her own.
And this is
see?
conductive?
That's what I was gonna let you find out for me. Ooh, look at that.
Oh, that's cool.
Now, I'm sure that stun gun Tori's using comes with a warning.
That is cool, look at that.
Something along the lines of, not a toy,
Look at it burning.
use with caution,
Look, I wrote my name.
keep out of reach of children.
Oh, Tori, are we gonna ever have an episode where you don't hurt yourself?
I didn't think it was gonna hurt me. Thought I had that one under control.
Also not under control is the weather.
Oh, great, the water level has risen.
Outside and inside the bunker, the big wet
It
continues.
doesn't do a lot of good to have rubber mats when they're submerged in water.
A bit of electricity and a lot of moisture. What could possibly go wrong?
Okay, try not to stand in the water.
What is it? The first day of rain we get for the entire year is going to be on the day that we're using high explosives and electricity. Woo!
2,000 volts.
Now, does anyone else find this somewhat alarming? Raincoats, volumes of voltage, and a welter of water.
Look at it, it's arcing from the screw to the wood.
Okay. Stop.
Tori's on hairdressing duty to keep it dry enough to prevent shorting. Well, that's the theory.
I got water pouring down my back.
Folks, it goes without saying, never, ever, ever try this at home.
Somebody want to get a 2x4 just in case they need to knock us apart?
Perhaps the least lethal thing to happen now would be if Carrie's homemade foil-backed patches exploded.
3, 2, 1. You see a spark or anything?
Nope.
See an explosion?
No.
Just like the modern plastic patches, maximum voltage, foil side up, or foil side down.
No reaction.
Even putting the paddles ridiculously close causes no kaboom.
It arced right over that patch, and I didn't see an explosion.
No explosion.
I don't think that the concentration of the nitroglycerin is high enough to actually get any sort of explosion. I mean, that's it. This myth is going down.
The myth may be going down, but it's not over yet. Because when it comes to the MythBusters and explosions, no one goes home disappointed.
We're gonna blow that nitro patch up.
You bet we are, buddy.
Adam and Jamie are getting wrapped up in their quest to beat speed camera myths.
Can someone unwrap me? Turn off the camera and help me get out of this thing.
So far, it seems there's no way to get one over on the super sensitive speed slayer. But just how responsive are they? It's time to test viewer myth number 3.
You know, I heard once that those speed cameras are so sensitive that they'll pick up a bird flying past them and take a picture of it.
You know, I hate to play devil's advocate on this, but I can't see it working. I think a bird is just too tiny to be picked up by the radar. We should get some trained birds and fly them through the path.
Okay, and maybe a really fast trained bird.
1, make that 2, really fast.
If you've got a myth for us to test, we'd love to hear about it.
Here off the icy waters of San Francisco Bay, we have a very rare opportunity to be able to view a very elusive television host in its natural habitat, the Heinemann. Latin name, Hoosierus televisualis. And he seems to be communicating with his viewers, asking them for ideas.
And who knew? Not only did you respond to the call, you opened the floodgates and sent us a gazillion myths.
So we selected a few of the best to test.
What's up first?
Bamboo torture. You had enough yet? Because I can keep singing all day long.
I can take whatever you can throw at me.
All right then, well, how about that, wise guy?
A tiny bamboo plant? What are you gonna do to me with that?
I'm gonna plant it and then grow it right through you.
Really? Does that work?
I don't know, but that's the myth, and I've always wanted to try it.
It's a far-fetched fable straight from the fan site. During World War II, captured POWs were supposedly stretched above and then penetrated by fast-growing bamboo shoots.
So what's your plan for this one?
It's pretty straightforward, I think. We get some kind of a human analog, we get some fast-growing bamboo, and we plant the bamboo under the analog and see if it grows through it.
Right, now normally I'd say we should use pig, but given the fact that this is gonna take a few days, it's gonna get way too smelly.
Well, I tell you what, why don't we measure how much force it takes to penetrate pig flesh, and then we create a synthetic simulant that won't rot.
And then put the bamboo underneath that.
Exactly.
And so crouching savage, hidden Heinemann begin their long and arduous search for the legendary torture technique in the mystical bamboo groves of Santa Cruz.
Luckily enough, we live in California where bamboo grows beautifully.
And the purveyor of these potentially penetrating plants
That's the thing right there. That'll get you talking.
is Larry Gullman.
Is a bamboo shoot physically capable of pushing its way through human flesh?
Bamboo shoots in the ground have to push through the dirt, around rocks, through rotten logs. I've seen bamboo shoots push up walkway pavers. So yes, they do push very hard when they're in the ground.
If you're strapped down to this, oh, I can already feel it.
So the early signs are promising.
See, that's what we want.
And that's due to the unusual way in which bamboo grows. The canes shoot out from an underground root system, and while underground, the shoot tips are extremely tough and sharp in order to push out through the soil. So the question is, do they have enough force to push through a human body?
So let's say somebody owed you money. What kind of bamboo would you use?
I think you should use Spectabilis. It's shooting right now. It's about 1 inch in diameter and very sharp.
Perfect. With their potentially penetrating plants purchased, there's only one thing left to do.
Well, we've got our bamboo. It's time to go back to the shop and torture some dummies.
And now Carrie, Grant, and Tori take the mystery out of chemistry.
Okay, so what's our next myth for the viewer special?
We're doing a myth about metal, and not just any metal, but my second favorite metal, alkaline metal.
You know what? Adam and I did some tests for that when we were doing the MacGyver episode, but why are we doing it again?
Because fans want to see more. They can't get enough.
3, 2, 1.
When the team took on MacGyver, they busted the myth that a few grams of sodium in water can blast a hole in a wall.
That was an explosion, but this is not a high explosive.
But you, yes you, want more.
So what exactly do the fans want to see?
They want to see more reactive metals.
Oh, you mean like rubidium and cesium?
Exactly. There's this internet video floating around where these guys throw cesium rubidium into a bathtub, and they liken the explosion to a hand grenade. Fans want to know if that's actually true.
Okay, that's cool. But instead of bathtubs, why don't we do toilets? You know, like we used to flush the cherry bombs down in high school.
You know, I wouldn't know anything about that. I was too busy studying chemistry, but, you know, if you want to do that, by all means, let's do it.
Is this opposite land?
Hand grenades and explosions, you say? Well, that could only mean a trip to the team's dream location, the Alameda County Sheriff's Bomb Disposal Range.
What are we blowing up today? Toilets, bathtubs.
Everything but the kitchen sink.
And the reason the bathroom furniture is on death row is the fan furor over a video clip that looks a little bit like this.
Anybody got anything to read?
Break out the popcorn, because Carrie, Grant, and Tori catch a movie.
Ah, so we're doing another movie myth? Which one is it?
The cult classic, Deep Blue Sea.
Yes, genetically altered man-eating sharks! Tell me we're testing the scene when they blow the shark up.
We're testing the scene where they blow the shark up.
Yes!
But there's a twist. They don't have any weapons on hand, so they MacGyver it. Check this out.
Yep, in this scene from the silver screen, the survivors of some mutant shark mayhem are desperate to finish the fish. So they turn to a harpoon gun, flares, and an electric charge.
We ought to get about 2.5 sticks of dynamite out of these flares.
The question is, could this MacGyver-style combo really equal a big boom?
From up here, you ought to be able to see me spirit. When I do, you take this end of this cable, hook it up to the positive side of the boat battery, and boom.
So they have 2.5 sticks of dynamite's worth of black powder from the flares, and it looks like he's gonna make a pipe bomb from the cylinder attached to the harpoon.
But how are they gonna ignite the black powder?
It looks like he's gonna just attach that metal cable to a battery, and that's supposed to set it off.
No way.
Way, because that's exactly what happens after upping the jeopardy by pinning his friend to the shark.
Now what's he gonna do? I mean, if he kills the shark, he could potentially kill his friend. But if he doesn't kill the shark can get away. Now he's in a dilemma. Kill the shark, kill the friend, let the shark get away. What's he gonna do?
He opts for the heroic sacrifice, of course. But our harpoon-toting hero hesitates, perhaps fatally, because the genetically enhanced super shark makes for the hole in the fence he'd prepared earlier.
Oh, wait, the hero's free.
There's a spark.
And
boom! Wait a minute, 2.5 sticks of dynamite?
Tower of water, blood, and fire. Awesome.
That is a pretty crazy scene, and there's a lot of elements to test.
Okay, let's break it down. First of all, we need to find out if you can ignite black powder with a car battery like they did in the movie.
And we need to see if an improvised harpoon gun like that can go that distance and still be accurate.
And then we need to find out more about these flares. Do they even contain black powder? And if so, do they have enough to make the mythical 2.5 sticks of dynamite?
And can that amount of black powder make the massive explosion that we saw?
And the guy survived.
Well, we definitely need to test that.
Okay, that's 5 things to test for one scene. That's gotta be a record.
It's the Deep Blue Sea Quintet of Myths with 5 separate testable elements. It's something to get your teeth into. But hold the phone, because Tori's starting this myth by making a mark of a shark.
I started off with a big block of foam. I put an outline on the profile and then a top view, marked that out with spray paint, cut that out with hot wires. From there, I went and took the foam cutting machine and shaped it down to more shark-like.
Nicknamed Hugo because he's, huge, oh. He's a little cuddlier than his movie counterpart. And talking of the movie,
Now, while Tori finishes up Hugo, Grant and I are going to start testing the first part of this myth, which is the ignition system. Can you ignite black powder with a battery and a wire? We're going to start with a proof of concept.
and to explain the concept and method for proving it, here's our resident electrical engineer.
Okay, so this is a setup for our proof of concept. Now, people would normally think that it's the spark from the battery that ignites a black powder, but in their setup, it's actually more likely to be the heat. So, what I'm gonna do is hook up this battery to a pair of jumper cables. There's a thin wire between the two, and the heat should build up as the current flows through that conductor, and that should ignite the black powder.
Sounds simple enough.
You just touch the positive and that should ignite, right?
That's right. Everybody ready? Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Yep, as expected, the heat emitted by the current being forced through the wire is enough to ignite the black powder.
That's proof of concept.
Yeah, for this part. But now what we gotta do is set it up like they had it in the movie.
Well, as we expected, we generated enough heat to ignite the black powder. But the question is, will the setup in the movie do the same?
That's the burning question. And some jump cuts later, they're all set to put the movie scene to the test.
Okay, so here's the setup. We have a tank filled with salt water. Inside of the tank is an airtight metal canister. Inside of that is black powder. Now that's connected, just like in the movie, through a steel cable. Steel cable leads back to a 12-volt marine battery. Then the other half of the circuit, by a jumper cable, leads all the way back to the tank, and hopefully completing the circuit, and ba-boom.
This experiment is one of those things that is totally counterintuitive because, you know, it's just a couple of phone books interleaved together. There's no glue, there's no tape, there's no screws. They're just sitting there, those phone book pages, and we should be able to pull them apart quite easily, but somehow I don't think so.
If you don't believe Jamie, here's a sentence you don't often hear on MythBusters. This is one you can try at home. And while you're at it, here's something else you can try at home with phone books. The tall tale that it takes a strong man to tear a phone book in half.
As long as we've got all these phone books around, I thought this is an opportunity to learn how to rip a phone book.
And Adam's tricky technique is this. Bend the book into a V separating the pages. And that means you tear one page at a time and not all 800. Simple.
This is like a sickness. It's like an addiction. I gotta rip up another one. Oh, yeah.
But the problem with addictive highs are the inevitable subsequent lows.
I know I'm a myth buster, but I'm a little sad to find out that the trick is so easy.
And Adam knows the only way to cheer himself up is to beat, or could that be cheat, Jamie in a contest.
Jamie, come here. Got a challenge for you. Ready?
Okay.
Can you do that?
I don't know. Let's see. I've never done this before.
After seeing Jamie struggle for a few minutes, Adam adds the ultimate insult by offering to help.
Right, here, I'll make it easy for you.
Okay.
Start from the other side. Take it, bend it all the way like this, and you're kind of spreading out all the pages and tearing them one at a time. That's the trick, and it should tear open. Come on, you're stronger than me. What, you gonna let me show you up on television?
You want to get whacked in the head with a phone book?
It's a fun trick to know. I think we should practice.
You go right ahead.
Okay.
After a trip to the recycling bin, boys, it's back to work. Which means it's time to dial in on some hard data.
We weren't able to pull the phone books apart. That tells us something, but not specifically how strong they are. So we're going to test them with this scale.
Yep, this scale will measure exactly how much tug
Ready when you are.
the phone books are being subjected to.
All right, what do we get to?
Not bad,
320 pounds.
320 pounds sounds significant, but what we need is a little perspective.
To put that amount of force in perspective, it's the weight of your average linebacker.
Impressive. But what's next?
Let's get everyone in the building on this.
Okay.
Yep, it's time to number up.
You ready to fight the Spartans?
With 9 muscled MythBusters and Adam split into 2 teams of 5,
1, 2, 3, like that.
we're about to see exactly what these phone books are made of.
Lions! Oh, they're beating us, you bastards! Move!
Okay.
So far, it's phone books 1, everybody else 0. 5 people on 5 people tug of war, generating almost 2,100 pounds of force, the weight of a small car, and the phone books are steadfastly refusing to be separated.
Which leaves one final manpower option. All 10 MythBusters in one mighty team. Mush!
Lunge! Tug! All right, what do we get? We got up to 4,000 pounds. You guys called it up. You called up the beast. And it didn't do anything.
Come on, guys, do I have to keep asking? 4,000 pounds is
About the weight of a full-size pickup truck. And still, we weren't able to separate the phone books.
We gave everything to this phone book. It looked right back at our face and said, "Tuh, is that all you've got? We will need to bring some more power."
But before the bringing of more power,
What's up, man?
in an attempt to unstick this sticky problem,
I have something fun for you guys to try.
Adam brings more MythBusters.
The goal is for you guys to separate these without ripping them, tearing them, just by pulling. You've got 1/2 hour and any tool or material you want to use in the shop.
This is gonna be easy. 1, 2, 3.
Ow! You broke a nail.
Maybe not easy, but it is intriguing.
What are you doing? Is it time for, like, fire safety tips or something?
In fact, it is. Today's fire safety tip is don't stand near a car that's on fire.
Okay. Why?
All right, I'm glad you asked. Because it turns out that some cars have a bumper attached to them by a shock absorber. And this is to, allow the bumper to absorb some of the hit when it bumps into something. And that in a car fire, that shock absorber can overheat and explode and send the bumper shooting out, potentially kneecapping anybody who's unfortunate enough to be standing in front of or behind the car on fire.
I sense a car fire in our near future.
I think it's definitely something we should test.
Okay.
Bumpers are designed to protect your car by absorbing some of the impact from a low-speed collision. But if your car's on fire, this myth contends that the gas-filled pistons can heat up to a point where the bumper becomes a deadly projectile, and its range is an incredible 50 feet.
As far as the methodology goes, I think it's pretty straightforward. We just go to a junkyard, we get some bumpers of the appropriate type, we subject them to some really high heat, and we test them.
Right, but since this whole thing is about what happens to these bumpers in a car fire, I think our very first step is to simply set a car on fire and take some measurements and readings to figure out what kind of temperatures we're actually talking about.
Agreed.
So the boys bowled up to the bomb range to set a car on fire. This is familiar MythBusters territory. So how hard can it be? Well, as hard as you want to make it.
We're all right.
What the hell are you doing?
Having some fun.
Jamie's idea of fun is likely different to yours, mine, and Adam's.
Remember, kids, you really can get in trouble with one of these things.
It's an apt start to a day that will not go quite to plan.
We have found some potential cases of this actually happening, that maybe bumpers shot off during car fires. And the researchers have found us a make and model similar to those in the reports that we have. So we're going to set this thing on fire, find out how hot a car fire actually gets, take temperature readings all around it, and if we're very lucky, maybe we'll get a bumper shooting off.
That would be a bonus. But remember, their primary purpose is to see just how hot a car fire gets. Fortunately, there's some adult supervision on hand.
Good morning. We got just a small car fire we're going to set and hopefully help ask you guys to put out.
No problem, sir.
Adam draws on boyhood skills to raise the car and strip the wheels in next to no time. Here in California, it's a crime to burn tires. For some reason, it's not a crime to wear a silver suit with suspenders. As Adam slips into something less comfortable, Jamie considers the finer details.
We're going to light the car on fire, and being as the engine has fuel, it has oil, it has plastic parts, it's got batteries with electricity, you've got all the elements you need to create an energetic fire. And that also happens to be the area around the bumper. So that's where we're going to focus our ignition, and we'll see what happens.
And just for good measure, when the car's ablaze, they'll get accurate temperature measurements by circling it with a thermal imaging camera.
That ought to do. What do you think?
Go for it.
This is fun.
But try as he might, Adam can't manage to set fire to the engine, even though it's swimming in gasoline. Making fire is something even cavemen mastered. But we've struggled with this before. Who could forget the shaky start to trailblazers?
It's hard stuff to light.
It only lights when it gets mystified.
This delayed ignition is risky business, and statistically, it's getting more perilous by the second. I mean, nothing's gone wrong for almost 40 minutes.
Whoa! I'm okay.
You got a little bit of a haircut there, didn't you?
I got a little bit of a, not a haircut, I got a little bit of a hair on the back of my hand.
What's up with the bling?
We did rob the jewelry store! Yeah! No, just kidding. It's for our next myth.
Okay, why?
Because we're trying to find out if you can make diamonds.
Aren't there companies that already do that?
Yeah, but they're like $1 million machines. I mean, we're gonna do this different. We wanna see if you can make diamonds on your own in the comfort of your own home.
Oh, okay, so homemade diamonds.
Oh yeah, there's all these schemes on the internet where you can make them in your own kitchen. You don't need any of these fancy machines. And in the end, you get diamonds.
Yeah, we have 3 different techniques. One is using peanut butter in a microwave, another one is using molten iron, and then finally we got one from the TV show CSI, and you use nothing but graphite and a pressure cooker.
Okay, let's put them to the test.
You know, if this works, in the end, we could be millionaires. Yeah!
The traditional way of getting your hands on a diamond used to be either mining or marriage. But modern science has brought us synthetic diamonds, created in labs using multi-million-dollar technology. However, according to this myth, you can make your own precious gems, all from the comfort of your own home.
Okay, well, there are 3 recipes, so why don't we each take a technique and have a little competition?
Okay, well, in that case, let's make it winner takes all. Whoever makes the most diamonds with the greatest value keeps everything.
Ah, I like a good competition.
I'm gonna put my hand up for peanut butter.
All right, well, I'll investigate the CSI method.
Well, I guess that leaves me with the iron and graphite. But watch out, because I'm gonna blow you away with my bling.
Oh, yeah? Well, I guess the proof is in the pudding.
Tori's come over all CSI, which is apt, given that this myth will have murder,
Dead.
double dealing, plenty of shots, and the mother of all climaxes. So, over to Tori. Horatio.
You know, my recipe comes from CSI Miami. But before I start making diamonds, I'm gonna have to take a closer look at the evidence.
CSI Miami makes it look so easy. According to the crime lab, all you need is pure graphite, a ceramic box, some mysterious chemicals, and a pressure cooker. Then, after 3 days, hey presto. But is this technique...
It's like nature, only 1,000,000 times faster.
Or is it like science, only 1,000,000 times fabricated?
Looks like I'm gonna have to figure out what those mysterious chemicals are. I think I know just the person.
For an expert opinion, Tori heads to UC Berkeley to see Dr. Michael Franklock.
So if I was gonna do this, what kind of chemicals do you think I should use?
Metals like nickel, cobalt, and iron, so I would advise you to start from one of those, and it should be salt in its active form. You still need to add some initial seeds, some small diamonds.
So you need a little piece of diamond to start the diamond?
If you already start with a little seed, even of poor quality, it can grow and get bigger.
Dr. Franklock's advice has given Tori the competitive edge. And while he's off to gather his CSI supplies,
that is the pressure pot.
Carrie weighs in with a recipe that puts the nuts into peanut butter.
To turn ordinary peanut butter into diamonds, there's a very simple recipe all over the internet. You take 2 charcoal briquettes. You cover them with 4 ounces of peanut butter. Put them in a microwave-safe dish, and then you microwave them for 60 minutes in 10-minute increments.
Sounds crazy, but according to these internet hipsters,
You want to take about 4 ounces of peanut butter.
all that stands between you and millions of dollars is a microwave. Still, unsurprisingly, after just 5 minutes on high, things go up in smoke.
Well, it appears that my microwave-safe dish has a giant hole in the lid and the bottom's completely shattered. Looks like I'll be getting some more glassware and trying this again. 'Cause I want my diamonds.
All right, you guys, this next myth is gonna be insane.
What is it?
That's it, the hwacha. It's an ancient Korean weapon. Huh?
If there's a picture of it, that means it's not a myth, it exists.
Well, we know it exists. What we're gonna test is the legend of the hwacha, whether or not it could do what they said it could do. Apparently, they could fire 200 arrows all at once, going 500 yards, and all of the arrows explode on impact.
Okay, well, to begin with, any weapon in that era wouldn't have had the benefit of modern explosives or propellants. It was likely based entirely on black powder.
So first we need to find out if black powder can actually propel one of those arrows 500 yards.
Right, and then we need to see if we can get these rockets to explode on impact.
And finally, we need to see if we can launch 200 arrows simultaneously without them all crashing into each other or exploding on the stand.
It's a massive myth to unravel with 3 key parts. 1, can a fire arrow actually travel 500 yards? 2, can it be rigged to explode on impact? And 3, can you really set off 200 at once? So let's start up at the pointy end.
Well, what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna build one of these arrows from the materials that the ancient Koreans would have used. I have some bamboo, I have some feathers for my fletching, and finally, a piece of steel to make my arrowheads out of.
Tori proves himself a first-class fletcher and a pretty fair blacksmith.
All right, so my arrow's done. Now it's time to see how it flies. Pretty dang good.
That's 1 down, 199 to go. Tori leaves the hard work to Carrie as he and Grant skip town to visit Zambelli Fireworks in Pennsylvania.
We're lost, aren't we?
The rationale behind the road trip is that the fire arrows work just like skyrockets.
Happen to have some fun while we're here? That's purely coincidental.
Just like fireworks, the hwacha rockets were charged with black powder. Ours have to travel 500 yards strapped to a 4.5-foot arrow. Grant and Tori are determined to roll their own, and Bill is here to help them.
Well, let's see, what's one of these weigh? Well, about 4 ounces. That's not bad. Every 12 ounces the shell weighs, we add 1 ounce of lift to lift it up in the air. You know, if you guys want to go 500 yards, that's a long ways, so we'll see how a 2-ounce rocket works.
Using 6-inch cardboard tubes, Bill shows how to pack a charge without blowing up the bunker.
And so you do a little bit at a time, and you
Put the rod down in, and you just give it a couple hits.
It feels wrong.
Just don't hit it too hard, man. I'd hate to see you blow your hand off. Feel good? Hey.
Grant and Tori make several versions, some with more black powder and some with less. The rockets are wrapped in paper, then Bill adds the fuse.
And when we go to fire it, we'll cut this paper and peel it back. And give yourself five or 6 seconds to walk away.
Okay. You ready?
Yeah, let's see what these bad boys can do.
Oh, this is perfect. I mean, can't you just imagine an invading army coming out of that forest?
Totally. All right, so we need to see if these arrows can fly 500 yards, so we should walk it out.
They're here to test part 1 of the myth, that a rocket arrow really could make the distance. But 500 yards is a long, long way.
This is how all horror movies start. Didn't that guy say stick to the path? This is gonna be perfect. We're right at the tree line.
The crop ends smack bang on the 500-yard mark. They tape the target halfway up a tree so they can see it from the launch site.
At this point, I think we're just going for distance rather than aim. But if I were to take a guess to see whether the arrow would hit him, I'd have to say we probably wouldn't. But then again, the watch out had 200 arrows.
This might sound crazy, but a lot of the fans are saying that you can actually make rope out of toilet paper, and it'll be strong enough that you could scale down a jail wall and escape.
Toilet paper? Are you serious?
All right, well, if we're gonna do that, I think we should do the all-time classic, making a rope out of bed sheets.
I know it's kind of out there, but let's also do the Rapunzel version of this, where you make a rope out of hair.
Ew.
Any prison break worth its place in urban folklore involves a death-defying descent from a great height, including these fan-site fables. Desperate convicts, eager to be ex-convicts, have escaped jail with the apparent aid of cell-made ropes of toilet paper and bed sheets. And if you include Rapunzel's luscious locks, that's 3 harebrained escape plans to test.
So how are we gonna test this?
Well, why don't we each take one of the materials, make our ropes, and see which one of us makes it down the side of the building.
And may the best rope win.
Wait, I want bed sheets then.
Too late!
Yes, in a vertigo-inducing finale,
Oh my God, I'm gonna throw up.
our fun-loving criminals will find out for real if the ropes made from their mythical materials will aid and abet their jailbreak,
Stupidest idea ever.
or send them plummeting to their doom.
Ow!
But before all that, let's take you back to the beginning, where Carrie's plan for a braided escape is giving her a bad hair day.
Is this not the most disgusting thing you've ever seen? An entire box of just hair?
Yes, coming in at #1 on the weirdest raw material chart are 50 human hair ponytails.
We have to break out of a building that's 14 stories high. So I have to make a rope that is 140 feet long. I think the difficulty here is not going to necessarily be the strength of the hair, because this feels really strong. I think it's going to be where the hair splices together. I have to come up with some sort of knotting or braiding system that it won't slide apart and, 100 feet down, I'm not just going to plummet to the earth. And it's gross.
Meanwhile, Grant's mythical method is a little more conventional and a film fugitive favorite.
So in order to make sure we have maximum authenticity here, we've gotten these bed sheets from our friends in Alameda County, and they're actual county jail linens.
But he's not only keeping it real, he's keeping it simple.
My plan is to extend them lengthwise so that they're the full 7 feet long, and then fold it into a rope-type shape and knot them together.
And finally, Tori, who has some serious tensile strength issues with his authentic one-ply prison-issue tissue.
There you have it. It's not strong enough.
But he's a man with a plan.
If you look at the toilet paper, it's perforated for your convenience of pulling off one sheet at a time. Already, it's got this built-in weak link, so I think twisting it, rolling it, will give me the extra strength that I need. Look at that. The same amount of toilet paper, just wrapped up, is strong enough to now hold the 3 kilos. So this is the way I'm gonna make my toilet paper rope.
Adam and Jamie's past crusade to hold Hollywood to scientific account
that's great!
has given the team some memorable moments of movie mayhem. But on this last crusade, the team are tackling the tall tale that a stick between the spokes can cause a head-over handlebars flip. So far, they've got their bike and rigged a remote-controlled flagpole thruster. So, what's next?
When this bike is moving at highway speeds, the spokes are going so fast you can hardly see them. So what we need to find out is whether it's possible for a human to thrust a stick into those spokes fast enough to get them cleanly through there. And then once that occurs, what happens to the wheel?
And to get the wheel spinning at chase scene speeds, 50 miles per hour, Adam whips up a dynamometer.
So the dynamometer is fully built and constructed. It's ready to spin this wheel up, and I'm going to explain. I don't really need to explain how it works, do I? The motor drives the chain, drives the wheel, spins it up to speed, we poke it with a stick. It's pretty straightforward. And now it's time for the old spoke and poke test.
That is an iceberg.
It's really cold here, but it's also really beautiful.
This place has a mythology all its own.
So we've got a full hour of Alaska-ness.
Tourism types up here market the 49th state as the land of intensity. It's twice the size of Texas, so we figure it's big and intense enough to handle some high-impact myth-busting.
Like most of our favorite myths, this one involves some drunken friends and explosives. You got a group of drunken friends, one of whom's just bought a brand new SUV, and they all decide that they want to go duck hunting with their dog. Except there's nothing around them but a frozen lake, and no duck is going to land on a frozen lake, so they need to make a hole. One of them offers up a stick of dynamite with a 20-second fuse to make a big hole, and throws that stick of dynamite as hard as he can.
I can see what's coming.
The dog, following its natural impulses, chases after that stick of dynamite, catches it, starts ferrying it back to the guy under the brand new SUV.
Uh-oh.
The dog, the dynamite, and the SUV go boom! The SUV goes down to the bottom of the lake, and the guy who owned it is still making payments.
This not-so-urban myth surely stretches the bounds of human stupidity. My sympathies are all with the dog, though you must admit, it's as funny as hell. But maybe it's too funny to be true. As Jamie and Adam set off to find their frozen lake, it's worth noting that this folktale is almost as old as dynamite itself.
Over 100 years ago, Australian author Henry Lawson wrote a comic story along very similar lines. He called it The Loaded Dog, and needless to say, he made the whole thing up. Still, we can't assume it couldn't happen, and that's enough reason to put it to the test.
The first thing we obviously needed was a frozen lake, and the researchers found us one here in Alaska behind me. This snowfield you see is in fact Fisher Pond, a man-made lake, which means there are no fish for us to kill, with a nice coating of rock-hard ice on top.
The ice on the pond is too thick to dig through, and that supports the myth. But can it support a 2-ton truck?
Okay, here we go.
Orson Smith and his fancy ice drill should give us a quick answer. Fans of slapstick should appreciate the breakthrough moment.
Whoa! That's a hell of a thing.
The ice core cracks up as it's bashed loose.
Look at that.
Put back together, it's 1.5 feet thick.
So it's got vertical crystals that make it really stronger than average.
So it's safe for us to drive our SUV out here?
Yes.
All
yes,
right.
I think so.
Good.
That'll hold a lot more than that SUV weighs.
So far, so good, and it's really cold. Out here on the lake, it's 20 below, but that can't slow down the science.
Look, this story has a ton of components to it, and the first part of it is how far can you throw a stick of dynamite?
Standard stick of dynamite, about 8 inches long, about a ½ pound. I figure I can throw it about an M5. which is 100 feet. That's how we measure things, Adam and I.
Remember, kids, this isn't real dynamite. We would never throw real dynamite, and neither should you. All right, Timmy. I want you to put your chi into this thing. That's it. Go! Nice!
Jamie's toss is up over the 100-foot mark. Now it's Adam's chance to prove he's got the mojo of the throw Joe.
Those look to be about the same.
2 hefty, manly throws with an average distance of
125 feet.
Okay, time to bring out the dog. This is Rudy, a young black Labrador. Puffing, drooling, and full of running, he's a born retriever, making him the perfect candidate to try to cover the distance there and back before the 20-second fuse fizzles out.
The myth is about a black lab that retrieves a stick of dynamite. That's what Rudy is. As you can see, he's raring to go. He really wants to retrieve that stick of dynamite.
And has no idea what he's signed up for.
Well, our fire-loving fans want us to start with a bang.
Give me more.
Well, this guy sent us this video of a bucket, and it has a bunch of matches in it. He lights it, it makes a big fireball.
That's perfect.
What's up, MythBusters? I was looking on YouTube, and I found a video where some guys got 30,000 match heads, and they put them all together, and they made this great big fireball. And I thought you guys could test it out, see if you can really do that with matches.
According to the video, the backyard blast was made using a tin bucket, 30,000 match heads, and 1 slow-burning fuse. But fans want to know, did match heads alone create this intense inferno?
The video says that they used 30,000 match heads. Now, that's going to take a while.
Yep. There's nothing to do, though, but get started.
Okay.
Instead of wooden matches, Adam and Jamie are slicing and dicing paper matchbooks.
Judging by that bucket, I'd say I've only got a drop in the bucket.
But what's key is the match heads themselves. All match heads use a potent chemical, potassium chlorate. So potent it's found in gunpowder and was widely used in early explosives. But is it potent enough to create the fireball of the fable? Well, feeling frisky after a full 10-hour day of match decapitation, the MythBusters are itching to find out.
The YouTube submission that we are replicating here today is a fan who supposedly spent hours cutting the heads off 30,000 matches, dumped them into a steel bucket, put that steel bucket in his backyard, put a little bit of fuse to it, lit it, and the thing went whoosh like that. That looks good enough to try. And instead of doing it in our backyard, well, we're going to do it in one of our favorite locations, almost our second shop, the Alameda County Sheriff's Bombing Range.
The bomb range may seem like overkill, but it's better to be safe than scorched.
30,000 match heads.
Yeah.
Now, has anyone got a light?
This right here is slow-burning cannon fuse. It seems to be what they're using in the video. It burns at about 1 foot every 30 seconds. And we just happen to have some around the shop.
While Adam gets in touch with his inner pyro, Jamie explores the burning issue of match safety.
You've got potassium chlorate, which is the fuel, and then you have phosphorus, which is what makes it sensitive enough to ignite. Now, in the Strike Anywheres, that phosphorus is on the white tip right here. And so you can strike it anywhere, the two chemicals combine, and you've got a fire. In the safety matches, though, the phosphorus is in the striker pad right there, and the potassium chlorate is in the match. You combine the two and they both go off. Now, we're going to be using safety matches for our experiment because, well, they're safer.
Safer, except when you strike 30,000 at once. But is this mayhem just about matches, or did other accelerants fan the flame?
Will these behave the way they did in the YouTube clip? Well, that's 20. We're going to be igniting 30,000. Will they create a flame 8 or 10 feet high? Only one way to find out. I love it when common materials are dangerous. Go ahead and light it.
I like using the fuse more than almost anything else. So much anticipation.
The fuse burns at 2 feet per minute. So 4 feet and 2 minutes of anticipation later.
Wow! Oh, nice!
That
It's cool.
That's pretty good.
It's a sparktacular result. A 10 feet tall Roman candle. Burn for burn, it's the same as the blast in the YouTube video. The high-speed camera confirms it. It's a match, give or take 30,000.
That is about the correct height for what it showed in YouTube.
Oh, yes. Look at that. Wow. I thought we were looking for 8 or 9 foot plume of hot fire, and that's exactly what we got. Based on this, I think that YouTube video is 100% correct, accurate, and true.
In other words, it's myth confirmed. But before you can say, don't try this at home, Adam and Jamie are already hatching a more powerful pyrotechnic plan.
But you know we can't leave it there.
Oh, I know.
Adam and Jamie have already seen that NASA didn't slow down the film to fake the Apollo mission moonwalks. But to conclusively confirm that the footage was shot in 1/6 gravity, they decided they had to experience the real thing. And here at 0G in Florida, they get to do just that.
Well, in order for us to do this accurately, we need to be properly weighted. Since 0G is providing us with the moon's gravity, 1/6 Earth's gravity, I need to have the exact amount of equipment weight on me that the original Apollo astronauts had on the moon. And that's about 180 pounds of stuff. And it's uncomfortable.
Adam's struggling with the excess baggage.
This is unpleasant.
Jamie, on the other hand,
oh yeah,
is keen to display his alpha male status. A status damaged after being forced to join Adam playing dress-ups.
I never thought I'd see the day.
With the weigh-in complete, it's time for the pre-flight briefing with in-flight info from 0G's Elizabeth Underwood.
Elizabeth, now that we're just about to go on, I want to know how good a simulation of zero gravity is this?
It's not a simulation at all. It is the real deal. It's the exact same technique that NASA's been using to train their astronauts for the last 50 years.
And it works like this. A series of parabolic arcs will give the passengers the physical sensation of weightlessness. And just for us, the pilot will adjust the angle of the parabola, making the microgravity in the cabin an exact match to the moon's gravitational pull, which just leaves the guys to step up, strap in, take off, and suit up.
I look good, right? I look damn good. So right now, I'm loaded up with an extra 180 pounds on my body. In a few minutes, we're gonna actually get to try this out in moon's gravity, and I gotta tell you, I can't wait. This is a heavy suit.
Adam doesn't have to wait long because the guides soon have everyone into position for the first pass. And as G-Force 1 gently arcs into its dive...
Ah, that feels cool.
Adam and Jamie...
Oh, here it comes.
...know what it feels like to walk on the moon.
Whoa! Wow! That's 100% wacky right there.
Calibrated to match the moon's gravitational pull, the guys just get time to take it all in before the call goes out to hit the deck. Because as the plane begins to pull out of the dive, the G-forces go into the positive.
there is a cost to being weightless. The other end of the roller coaster, you've got almost twice Earth's gravity. That's kind of terrifying at first, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I've never experienced anything like that. It is really disconcerting to first weigh double your weight and then 1/6 your weight. In fact, at 1/6 my weight, I felt pretty much weightless. I felt like I could jump 10 feet in the air.
This is a first, even for me.
Now that the guys have their bearings, the testing can begin.
Ready?
Adam copies the same run and skip as before. This time leaving out the jump because of height restrictions in the cabin.
The movement felt totally natural as soon as I started doing it. And all the NASA footage makes sense to me now. The skipping they did is a totally efficient way to move in that gravitational pull. I couldn't think of a better confirmation for the NASA footage than trying this myself.
When Adam was walking or running, he was experiencing the exact same thing that Neil Armstrong would have on the moon. It was 1/6 Earth's gravity. Adam did a great job with the bungee cords. It looked pretty convincing, but
being here on this plane in microgravity and watching him, it's totally different.
So what's up with the umbrellas?
I'm planning to use them to paint a metaphorical picture. I want you to imagine that you are having a midlife crisis and you run out and spend a bunch of your dough on a really nice convertible sports car.
Okay.
Now further imagine that you're driving it down the street and it starts to rain. What do?
You pull over and you put the top up.
Aha! That's where the fan site myth states that you might be wrong. That instead of wasting your time putting the top up, that you should floor it, go as fast as you can, because there is a speed at which you can drive that no rain will enter the driver's compartment.
Sounds kind of unsafe to me.
Sounds really fun to test to me.
Aerodynamics, dangerous wet weather driving, and a classic urban myth. This is Mythbuster Country. Because viewers want to know if you've got the top down when it starts raining, will putting your foot down keep you dry?
So, does this mean we get to drive a fancy car really fast in the rain?
We do, but we are in sunny California, and that presents a little bit of a problem. I think just as we did in running in the rain, we're going to have to manufacture our own rain here.
It's a bit of a chore, but I think we can handle that. We still get to drive a really fancy car fast in the rain, though, right?
Yes, but slow down there, cowboy. I think perhaps we ought to take this model car and run some shop tests. Sprinkle some water at it, look at it on high speed, see if there's anything at all to this myth.
And then we get to drive a really fancy car fast in the rain.
Okay, look, we'll get some driving lessons. We'll wet down some tarmac, we'll go out next thing and drive a fancy car, all right?
All right.
So to keep Rev Head Heineman happy, they shelve the shop tests in favor of...
Well, the first thing on our agenda is to get some training in foul weather driving on wet roads. And in lovely sunny California, there's nothing better for that than a perfect sunny day.
But being the Boy Scouts that they are, they came prepared to make their own.
Oh, I've made a rainbow. Look at that. This is gonna be fun.
That's the bad weather, so all we need now is a convertible car.
You've seen Mythbusters before. You know that generally when we have cars, they explode. But not that one, I don't think. Pretty snappy.
I think I know what I want for Christmas this year.
Guiding the guys through their wet weather driving instruction is Brian Fraser.
Brian's the guy that trains anybody that drives an emergency vehicle how to do it right. That means police, fire, ambulances. Brian's the guy.
There you go. You let a little bit of steering out, you felt the catch.
Right.
If I had a car like that, I wouldn't be letting Adam drive it.
Harsh, but given Adam's track record and current over-caffeinated mood, fair.
Woo! I might have gotten the microphone wet there for a second.
Despite Adam's best efforts, the microphone still works, and they get down to business.
Well, the surface is now wet. We're going to lose that cohesion between the tires and the concrete surface. We're on a concrete pad out here today. Hydroplaning can also be a factor if we got standing water. Ways to deal with this are get off the gas, slow our speed down. It's going to multiply any reaction that we do, so you want to not be jerky in your steering movements. So just smoothing out your steering and backing off speed can keep you in control of the car.
The clearest difference between driving on the wet ground versus the dry ground is that it's a lot slipperier.
Oh, sorry about that.
Mostly this feels to me like getting a handle on where out of control is. That's the trick. Once you know where out of control is, you can back off from it. Or you can sneak up to it without getting in too much danger.
Just try to get a slide and shoot straight down that way. There you go.
I lost my hat.
We're just trying to get comfortable with this scenario so that if we hit something unknown out there on the testing site, we can recover safely.
And that's the key. By simply getting to grips with the car on a wet surface, they can be sure they won't lose their heads at high speeds on the real test. Which means they're licensed for wet weather science.
I keep losing my hat.